Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. And I think we need to address this absolute shite to begin with, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet of like, oh my god, look how ridiculous the hitboxes are. Yes, we all know hitbox size has increased with Season 9, which does make it easier to hit targets. So if I shoot here, it will kill Ashe. I'm not aiming at Ashe in any way there. I've shot her and I've killed her. This is because I'm hitting her hitbox and not hitting her model. Or rather, the size of my Hitscan projectile is now big enough to actually hit her hitbox. Now, this looks extreme at this point-blank range. It's like, what the hell? This game is broken. It's terrible. What are the devs thinking? Well, the devs are thinking players don't stand still. Players actually move in Overwatch. And you've basically got instant acceleration when you move in Overwatch. Like, I move, it's instant. There's no delay. I'm instantly moving. Instant. This is what Overwatch is known for. It's rapid. It's fast. Now, if I want to shoot Ashe from range, again, I'm going to miss her in air quotes, but it's still going to hit her because the projectile is now bigger. Now, why doesn't this matter, right? It looks ludicrous in the test tube of the training range, the practice range, because I'm not even hitting this target, but I'm hitting it. This does make it easier to land targets, but like I've said, you've still got the whole thing of people moving. I played a game with Widow and I was missing loads of shots. It's not as easy as shooting at targets which are standing still. And if they are standing still, well, they deserve to be shot in the head, don't they? So what I'm saying is, guys, don't like look at the videos that have been floating around on social media and go, oh my days, this is so bad. I mean, I've seen one with Mercy's projectiles where they're just, it looks like Mercy's firing over here and she's still hitting the target. It's like, what's this? Mercy's been able to do that for a while. She could actually do that before Season 9. You know, oh yeah, projectiles are bigger now, but it just looks ludicrous. And it's so easy and so simple and it's such a cheap thing to go, oh, look at the hitbox, it's so bad. That player will be moving. So there still is skill expression in this game. Yeah, I think things will probably get toned down with the size of the projectile hitboxes, potentially. But, yeah, don't believe all of this ridiculousness. Because, yeah, Ashe would not be standing there. She'd be moving. So I think it's fine. There's also actually one last thing I want to say on the whole hitbox thing. Because this might sound ridiculous and almost counterintuitive, what I'm about to say. But I think it's actually, it takes more skill now to sort of aim at targets, especially if you're playing someone like Soldier, because you have to consistently aim at a target. It isn't like I'm shooting at the target and it's going to die within 3 or 4 seconds. It's like this target could take 8-9 seconds to die, so I've got to keep on this target or make a decision to latch onto another target and fire at that. And I think that's where things are a little bit different. But obviously, guys, yes, it is more forgiving. You will hit targets when you're aiming around them now instead of being like pinpoint accurate on them. But I think that's fine because you've got to look at the environment we've got with Overwatch 2 now, where everyone's got more health, so it does take a bit more time to kill targets. And yes, I do know that the DPS passive is a bit of a problem at the moment for tanks. But yeah, that's all I want to say on the hitbox stuff. I think let's move on to what I think so far about Season 9, and probably got some spicy hot takes to throw around. You know, I think they've actually done it. The game is more fun if you play DPS. So I've been exclusively playing DPS and I've stopped to record this video. I'm 5 games into my placement games and I've won them all. So maybe that says Soldier's broken, I don't know. But I've just been playing a lot of DPS. I've been playing Soldier, Hanzo, I tried new Phrah, played a little bit of Mei. So and Widow, I played Widow and I didn't do very well on Widow, so I quickly had to swap. So don't believe the hype of the training range. But DPS is more fun. Now, there's a few reasons for this. The first reason is, yeah, you do hit targets more. Now, this is sort of like that instant satisfaction in your brain. I guess the dopamine here, right? You're shooting targets, you're hearing the noise, you're like, yeah, this is great, it feels awesome. Remember the times of Overwatch 1 where you were just firing into barriers? It was terrible, it was garbage, it was absolutely shite. This is much better, right? Overwatch 2 was generally better for that anyway, but now it feels like you're getting a lot more time actually shooting the enemy, so it feels better as a game, and this is critical, and it makes me want to play the game more. It's a stupid, like, moronic way of viewing it, but I think that's what they were going for, and I think that's what's worked, because, like, in my head, like, my caveman brain is absolutely loving this. It's like, yeah, I'm just shooting at targets, and I'm loving it, and it feels great. The new healing passive as well, it feels really good actually for DPS. It's not as powerful as I thought it was going to be originally, but it still is helpful and it still lets you operate on the flanks and operate a bit more independently. So that's a really strong thing going for DPS, especially on certain game modes. You know, if you're playing on push, all of a sudden now you can sort of operate as like that lone ranger on the flanks. Tracers and soldiers and sojourns, they get a lot more value because, well, they can heal themselves. In fact, I had a moment where I was playing Cassidy on Hollywood, and I was actually able to spar with Genji a little bit, but then hide and get healed. But I was in such a position where I couldn't actually move out to get healing from my supports, else I'd probably get killed. Or if I was to run all the way back, I'd lose my, you know, the position I was in. So yeah, a lot of positives here for DPS. The other thing for DPS is the new passive, the minus 20% healing reduction when you damage a target. This is what's making tanks and supports have a really rough time at the moment. Now, what happens is you hit a target for any amount of damage. Now, maybe this will change in the future, and it'll have to be, you know, a certain number of damage before this kicks in. But currently, you hit a target, even if you do 1 damage to them, they will have minus 20% healing for 2 seconds. Now, this manifests itself in a extremely insane way on the tanks, because you fire into a tank, you literally, like, I don't know, graze the tank is taking 20% less healing. If you come up against a tank like a Roadhog, who depends on self-healing, well, you just pump damage into him and you get rewarded. This leads me onto the bit where I want to talk about tanks, because I think I've kind of worked out what's going on here. Do you remember when we would always say, don't just shoot the tank? That, like, being DPS and even being a tank or whatever, but firing damage into the enemy tank, generally not what you want to do. You want to bypass the enemy tank. You want to take out their squishies, kill their DPS, mainly kill their support. The problem is now, if you do mindlessly pump damage into a tank, it's extreme value. This is like, you can just sit there prioritizing attacking the enemy's tank because, and you have to be DPS obviously, you are reducing their healing by 20%. And that is huge. That is actually massive. So if anyone else happens to be shooting that tank, well, they're probably going to die quite quick. And this is where you get the knock-on effect of, yeah, if your supports are not really looking after that tank, then your tank's going to die. But if the enemy's supports are healing their tank while you're shooting them, it might survive. It's almost like this twisted Mauga situation where it almost feels like every tank is a Mauga, where if they're not being pocketed by supports and also your DPS is shooting their tank and then we're all shooting their tank and everyone's being healed, then you generally lose, and it feels really odd. But again, as a DPS player, it feels really, really good, because this means you're killing the tanks when you're attacking them. They're not instantly blowing up, but you can see them dying. It's like, I'm shooting this Roadhog, I know he's going to die. I'm shooting this Orisa. Suddenly, it's now worth shooting the Orisa, because before, she would never die. But hey, I can actually stop her from living. And it feels really good for DPS, but again, for tanks, this is a problem, because it makes tanks just feel... I think tanks just feel worse than they did before. So then the question becomes, what tanks are viable? Well, this is a really hard one. I mean, I think Wrecking Ball is probably really good right now, just because he's self-sufficient. He doesn't actually rely on the supports to keep him alive. He can just engage and disengage. If you need your supports to look after you, and also the thing with Wrecking Ball is it gives your supports more chance to actually heal the rest of the team as well, which is a massive bonus in what seems to be this new Overwatch 2 Season 9 meta. I think looking at other tanks, Sigma's good. I think Sigma's always going to be good, but I think he's great, Sigma, at the moment. D.Va's actually pretty good. And Ramatra, I would say, is probably pretty good. Now, I've seen people play Orisa, and she's been okay. I've seen Winston be played, and he's okay. Reinhardt, I've not really seen Reinhardt get any sort of value at the moment. I think there's another component to this, though. When you look at tanks like Winston, even if you look at tanks like D.Va, Junker Queen to some degree as well, I think Roadhog's not very good at the moment either. But basically, Zen. If Zen applies Discord Orb to you and the DPS are shooting you, you've got 20% less healing, you've got the increased damage coming in from Discord, you're going to die, and you're going to die really, really fast. So you might see a Winston, you know, you might, let's just say you're playing on Numbani, you've got Winston as your tank, you're going for a dive comp, the enemy team have got Zen, they Discord Orb you Winston jumps in, instantly dies. So you've still got that element of burst damage, which can just destroy tanks if Discord is in play. I think all the other tanks are kind of like, they're just not great at the moment. I think Doomfist is not doing very well at all at the moment. Like I said, Reinhardt I don't think is great. But yeah, that's kind of the tanking situation at the moment. I still need to play this a bit more, but through playing DPS and absolutely bullying the tanks, I think what we're seeing is this sort of knock-on effect of lower ranked games or more brain dead DPS play where you're just shooting the tank, getting a shitload more value than it used to before. And I think that's a bit of a problem, because just shooting the tank shouldn't just kill the tank. You know what I mean? It's like, what's a tank in Overwatch? I think at the moment, they're just like this big hitbox DPS that doesn't do a lot of damage and doesn't have the DPS passive. It's really weird. It feels really weird at the moment. So let's talk about supports and their current sort of situation and throw in a few hot takes on them. So I think when I look at the supports, Zen is absolute god tier at the moment. I think Bap's really good as well. Bap's always been... He's kind of sort of view him as like a bit of a Zen in terms of his damage output. He's very consistent. Oh, well, in fact, he should do more damage than the Zen. But, like, he's very consistent. And remember, again, projectile size increase for Zen and, well, for everybody, means that it's easier to land shots. So it does theoretically help Zen more because he's doing sort of more damage per projectile, I guess, because it's easier to hit. I think Lucio is really, really good at the moment. Lucio, his buff is really, really good for Lucio. And I probably would have to throw Anna in as well. Like, Anna is just... She's always pretty strong. Interestingly, I think supports that are not doing as well, which I thought might, supports like Moira. I don't think Moira is doing very well at all. In fact, I find Moira quite easy to deal with now as a DPS player. I also don't really feel like she's actually offering much to the team compared to other supports, and especially compared to like Season 8. That might change, I don't know. I think Mercy falls into this as well, where Mercy just suddenly doesn't feel as like she's generating as much value as she used to before. Now, like I said, all these heroes, obviously, you know, if you're specialized in that hero, you're going to make it work. But these are just like my hot takes on support at the moment. I think Kiriko as well is obviously doing quite well. Projectiles are slightly bigger than they were. So, yeah, she's always probably going to be annoying because she is like a DPS style support. In like a weird way, it's almost like we've moved into this world of what's a support? Okay, is it healing or is it support to provide some other type of support to the team, some utility, or are they just now becoming DPS heroes that have got a little bit of healing? It's really weird, but I do think when I look at the state of the roles, you know, based off literally playing this for one day, it feels like DPS, this is the season of DPS. DPS feels incredibly strong. It feels like tank is just absolutely getting hammered more than it was, and it just doesn't feel great. In fact, I don't really want to play tank, because I just don't want to sit there and get mowed down by some brain-dead DPS. Ironically, it is quite fun being that brain-dead DPS, mowing down targets. And I think support are in this odd world of they almost don't want a tank, because if they've got a tank and the enemy team are attacking their tank, then they need to pile everything into that tank to try and keep it alive. It's almost like they'd prefer to just have a wrecking ball doing whatever the hell he wants around the map, because it frees up the support to then focus on maybe killing the enemy, maybe supporting their team, and all of that stuff. Honestly, I think this is it's a really, really interesting patch. We should also probably talk about Phrah a little bit here. So I think this rework feels really good. It makes her feel a much better hero to me. I was never a fan of just floating around in the sky. Didn't really feel too great for me. Never really, you know, connected with me in any way. I always liked the fact she could move with Concussion Blast, and it's now like she's almost got another Concussion Blast, and you know, with a dash forward, and I like the way her rockets travel faster, and she takes less damage from her own rockets, so she can do rocket jumps. She just feels better. Problem is, Hitscan is so powerful right now, you just die as Phrah. Like, I see a Phrah on the enemy team, I just beam her down with Soldier, which is because it's just easy to hit her. So yeah, I think she's really suffering, and also it's quite difficult for Mercy to play with her, so the pharmacy is really hard to pull off now. So I think that's it for the moment, guys. I think my hot take is I am really enjoying playing DPS. I feel like I'm a lot more self-sufficient. I feel like I am playing an FPS game. I feel like I'm getting a ton of value. I feel like I can kill tanks. I feel like I can duel anybody, and I don't feel like, oh no, the supports are just going to kill me, or I'm just this useless component, which you were all the way up until this point in Overwatch 2's history. If you were playing DPS, it was the least impactful role. It's now suddenly become the most impactful role. Now, of course, that depends on you as a player. If you don't play DPS, you're going to be hella pissed off. If you're a tank main, you're like, what is this game now? I'm just literally getting farmed, and it's doing my head in. I don't know how to play with this. I don't know how to work with my team. You know, there will be moments where you'll have a good tank game, you'll have a good experience, but there'll be moments where you have a bad experience, and I feel it's just because, like, it's not because you're getting outplayed. It's just because there's no way now of sort of effectively tanking in Overwatch, because the DPS are going to rip through you, and then you're just going to suffer, because remember, you're taking 20% less healing. as soon as you're hit by a DPS, which is absolutely devastating. And then I think support is a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think overall, support is probably feeling the most pressure at the moment. I feel like if you're playing Zen or Lucio, you're absolutely loving this, like, or Kiriko, right? You're loving it. You're like, wow. And, you know, even Anna, and to be honest, Brig's pretty good as well. But, like, you're loving it if you're playing those supports because you're just like, I'm self-sufficient. I can do damage to the enemy team. You know, I've got a lot of options. But then, if... I'm not going to go over it again because I've been over it time and time again in this video. But there are a lot of elements that make support play really kind of, well... There's no greater feeling, is there? Or worse feeling, I should say, than seeing your tank dying and then pumping all of your supportness into them and they just die anyway and they slowly die and they're gone. That's a problem in the game at the moment and it makes support not feel great. Of course, there are ways around this, right? I think there is a mentality shift required when we talk about things like playing with line of sight. You can't just run out into the open and expect to survive, especially if you're a tank now. You've got to play a lot more clever. You can't just barrel roll down the middle and expect to get all the resources. You know, look at a tank like Mauga. He's literally trashed here. Like, Mauga is like one of the worst heroes in the game right now because if he goes out into the open, he's just going to take damage. He's got no way of mitigating the damage. Well, his way of mitigating damage is doing damage to heal himself. But if he's getting shot by DPS, he's doing 20% less healing, so he's just getting annihilated. And then if he's got a Discord orb on him, he may as well not exist at all. So you can see how all of this links together. But I think the top level thing is DPS players are loving it right now. I think support players, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes it can be great, sometimes it can be absolutely terrible. Tank players, I think, are just shafted beyond belief, and it's just a garbage role. I honestly, well, I'm going to get even more extreme here. I don't really have any interest in playing tank this season because I don't want to just sit there and get farmed game after game after game by what I would feel like is just some brain-dead DPS shooting me, even though I want to play that brain-dead DPS shooting them. See why game design is so difficult? Because Blizzard need to service all the absolute idiots like me while trying to make the game actually decent to play. Okay, I want you guys to let me know in the comments below what you think about this. I want your hot takes as well. How do you feel this season has gone down so far? Oh, actually, there is something I forgot. The Cosmic Crisis event mode. I do want to give this a bit of a shout out, actually, because this caught me completely off guard the first time I played it. I didn't realize you could betray your team. We had a Roadhog, and the Roadhog jumped into the abyss, became an enemy Roadhog, and killed us all. And the whole team was really confused, like, what's going on here? And the Roadhog killed us. So I actually think that's pretty cool. The mode itself, yeah, it's pretty basic. I think that's what we're going to get in the future when it comes to Overwatch PvE content. It was fun. I played it 3 times, and then I probably won't play it again. It does have different objectives which change. So you go from collecting power to, well, blowing up power generators to collecting key cards. And there's some other little modifiers as well. So it is pretty cool. But yeah, let me know what you think about this, guys, in the comments below. I am, as I say, I'm really enjoying playing DPS at the moment. But I think there are some other issues. And yeah, I just want to see your hot takes. Let me know. Do you agree with what I've said? Do you disagree? I'm sure you'll have some spicy comments. And yeah, I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.